In the bustling kitchen of La Mesa, a trendy fusion spot tucked away in the Mission District of San Francisco, Sophia Reyes slammed a pan onto the stainless steel counter. The sizzle of garlic and chilies filled the air, but to her, it might as well have been silence. "What the hell is this?" she barked at her sous chef Miguel Torres, who stood frozen, spatula in hand. Sophia dipped a spoon into the mole sauce they'd been perfecting for weeks. A rich, velvety blend of chocolate, spices, and fire-roasted peppers. She tasted it. Nothing. Not the deep earthiness of the cacao. Not the sharp bite of the ancho chilies. It was like licking cardboard. Her world, built on flavors that danced on the tongue, had gone flat. That was the day Sophia Reyes, the queen of San Francisco's food scene, realized her sense of taste was gone for good. The realization hit like a freight train, and she staggered back, the spoon clattering to the floor. The kitchen staff stared, the hum of exhaust fans the only sound. Sophia, always the rock, felt her knees buckle. "Get out," she whispered. "All of you, just get out." It started subtly 6 months earlier, during a brutal bout with COVID-19. Sophia, then 38, had powered through fevers and fatigue, refusing to close her restaurant even as half her staff called out sick. She was a force, daughter of Mexican immigrants who'd scraped together enough to open a tiny taqueria in Oakland before she took over, and turned it into a mini-empire. La Mesa had 2 locations now, with a third in the works in Los Angeles. Critics raved about her innovative twists: Korean-Mexican tacos with kimchi slaw, or Thai-infused pozole that blended lemongrass with hominy. But the virus left its mark. First, her smell vanished. Anosmia, the doctors called it. Then taste followed, a cruel tagalong. "It'll come back," her ENT specialist, Dr. Elena Vasquez, assured her from her office in Berkeley. "Give it time." But time ticked on, and Sophia's palate stayed numb. She tried everything. Zinc supplements, smell training with essential oils, rose, lemon, clove, from a kit ordered online. Nothing worked. Meals became mechanical, fuel rather than joy. The hook hit hard that night in the kitchen. A VIP table. Tech moguls from Silicon Valley, the kind who dropped thousands on wine pairings, had sent back her signature dish, complaining it was bland as hell. Sophia stormed out, apron smeared with sauce, and confronted them at their table by the window overlooking the vibrant street art of the Mission. "Bland? That's impossible. I tasted it myself." But she hadn't, not really. The moguls, led by a smug venture capitalist named Brad Thompson, laughed it off. "Maybe get your tongue checked, chef," he quipped, snapping a photo for his Instagram. The damage was done. By morning, the post had 10,000 likes, and word spread like wildfire on Yelp and Instagram. La Mesa's lost its edge. Reservations plummeted 40% overnight. Her empire, built bite by bite over a decade, was crumbling before her eyes. Sophia retreated to her apartment in No Valley, a cozy 2-bedroom overlooking the fog-shrouded hills and the distant gleam of the Golden Gate Bridge. She poured a glass of Cabernet, her favorite from a small vineyard in Napa Valley she'd visited last summer, and swirled it in the glass, watching the legs trickle down. Nothing. Not the blackberry notes, not the vanilla oak. Tears stung her eyes as she sank onto the couch, the city lights blurring below. "How do I cook without tasting?" she whispered to the empty room. Her phone buzzed relentlessly. Text from staff, a worried call from her brother Carlos, back in Oakland running the family taqueria. "Heard about the review. You okay, sis?" She wasn't. But Sophia Reyes didn't quit. She paced the living room, mind racing through memories of her parents' kitchen. Her mom kneading masa for tortillas, her dad grilling carne asada on a makeshift barbecue in their tiny backyard. Flavor had been their language, but so had feel. The warmth of fresh bread, the snap of vegetables. Taste was gone, but what about the rest? The crunch of a fresh tortilla, the silkiness of avocado crema, the pop of caviar on the tongue. Texture. And flavors? Not hers anymore, but others. The community's. An idea sparked, faint but fierce, like a match in the dark. The next morning, Sophia called an emergency staff meeting at the original La Mesa on Valencia Street. The team gathered around the long prep table: Miguel Torres, the loyal Sioux from East LA with his sleeve tattoos of chili peppers; Jenna Kim, her Korean-American pastry chef with a flair for matcha-inspired desserts and a laugh that could cut tension like a knife; and young line cooks like Tyler Brooks, a tattooed kid from Portland who'd hitchhiked west chasing culinary dreams, and Sarah Levine, a recent culinary school grad from New York with a knack for pickling. "Listen up," Sophia said, her voice steady despite the knot in her gut. "I've lost my taste. For real. It's not coming back." Gasps rippled through the room. Miguel crossed his arms, brow furrowed. Jenna's hand flew to her mouth. "But we're not shutting down," Sophia continued. "We're evolving. From now on it's about texture. And your palates become mine." She laid out the plan in detail. Community flavor labs. Weekly sessions where locals, neighbors from the mission, foodies from across the bay, even critics, would come in, taste test prototypes, and vote on dishes via a simple app Tyler quickly mocked up on his laptop. Sophia would focus on the architecture of the plate. Crispy edges that shattered, creamy centers that melted, chewy bites that resisted just enough to satisfy without relying solely on taste buds. "Think of it like blind tasting but in reverse," she explained, pulling out ingredients from the fridge. "I'll build the structure. You bring the soul." Skeptical looks turned to curious nods as she demoed her first experiment. A textural taco with crispy fried yucca shells, silky guacamole whipped to perfection, and crunchy pickled radish slivers for contrast. Miguel tasted it first. "It's alive. The contrasts pop, even if the flavors need tweaking." Jenna added a dash of gochujang for heat she could verify. Tyler suggested sprinkling hemp seeds for a nutty crunch that added depth. Sarah proposed a lime zest rub for aroma. By the end of the day they had a prototype that, while Sophia couldn't taste, she could feel, and the team raved. Word leaked out fast. A local blogger, Amanda Chan from the SF Foodie site, who was a regular at the bar, caught wind during a casual chat with Jenna and posted a piece that afternoon. Sophia Reyes goes texture first after COVID steals her taste. Genius or gimmick? The post went viral on Twitter, now X, racking up thousands of likes and retweets from food influencers in LA and New York. Curious diners trickled in that week, then flooded the following. Sophia renamed the menu Sensory Shift, with dishes like Crunch Symphony Salad, layers of shredded cabbage, toasted almonds, dehydrated apple chips for varying bites and snaps, and Velvet Vortex Soup, pureed butternut squash with chewy quinoa pearls and crispy fried shallots on top. Prices stayed affordable, $15 for most entrees, to keep the community vibe alive, not pricing out the locals who'd supported her from the start. But rebuilding wasn't easy. The first flavor lab was chaotic. 20 people crammed into the dining room after hours, sampling and debating. An elderly man from the neighborhood, Mr. Gonzalez, complained the soup was too smooth, like baby food. A young techie from Google suggested adding popping candy for fun. Sophia took notes furiously, adjusting on the fly. Her hands, callous from years of chopping, now focused on touch, kneading dough to the perfect elasticity, frying to exact crispness. At home, her husband, David Harper, a software engineer from Seattle they'd met at a food truck festival in Portland 5 years ago, supported her fiercely. He was tall, with a beard and a gentle demeanor that balanced her fire. "You're more than your taste buds, Soph," he'd say, rubbing her shoulders after 16-hour shifts, his fingers working out the knots from hours bent over counters. Their daughter, Mia 10, with her wild curls inherited from Sophia's side and David's blue eyes, became the unofficial kid tester. "Mom, this feels like eating clouds." She'd giggle over a fluffy meringue experiment with embedded fruit gels. Mia's enthusiasm kept Sophia going on tough days. Yet doubts crept in like the San Francisco fog. One night, after a disastrous lab where a group of influencers from Instagram trashed a new dessert as weirdly mushy and flavorless, Sophia broke down in the walk-in cooler, surrounded by crates of produce. The cold air bit her skin, but she barely felt it through the tears. "What if I'm fooling myself?" she sobbed to David over the phone, her voice echoing off the metal walls. "A chef without taste is like a painter without sight. What am I even doing?" David drove over immediately, traffic be damned, from his office in Palo Alto where he coded for a startup. He found her sitting on an upturned bucket, head in hands. "Remember when your parents started with nothing in Oakland?" he said, pulling her into a hug. "They built on heart, on what they could feel and share. You're doing the same." He pulled up articles on his laptop right there in the cooler. Stories of chefs like Grant Achatz in Chicago, who'd lost his taste to tongue cancer but innovated with aromas, presentations, and yes, textures. Texture is the new frontier, David said, his eyes lighting up. Science backs it. Mouthfeel is half the experience. Sophia dove deeper. She drove to UC Davis the next week, consulting with food scientists in their labs amid vineyards. Dr. Lisa Patel, a texture expert, showed her micrographs of food structures, how fat coats the tongue for creaminess, how acids cut through for contrast. Your brain fills in flavor gaps with texture cues, Dr. Patel explained. Sophia returned with tools: hydrocolloids for stable gels, aerators for light foams, dehydrators for intense crunches. La Mesa's kitchen transformed into a lab as much as a kitchen, with staff experimenting late into the night. The community flavors took off like a rocket. Every Thursday, Flavor Forum nights packed the house with 50-plus attendees. Diverse voices shaped the menu. Abuela Rosa, a 75-year-old from the Mission who'd known Sophia's parents, suggested adding chicharrones for pork rind crunch in the pozole, evoking childhood memories. A vegan activist, Priya Singh from Berkeley, pushed for jackfruit pulled pork, with its fibrous texture mimicking meat without the ethics issues. Even rivals joined. Chef Marcus Hale from a rival molecular gastronomy spot in Nob Hill, known for his foam and spheres, dropped by incognito one night and left a note on a napkin. Respect. Try popping boba in your desserts for burst. Sophia incorporated it the next week, crediting him publicly on the menu. Social media exploded. #Texture Revolution trended locally, then nationally, with users from Boston to Miami posting their own home experiments. A TikTok video of Mia describing a dish. It's like crunchy fireworks in your mouth, but with spicy confetti. Hit 1 million views, shared by celebrities like Chrissy Teigen. Expansion loomed on the horizon. The LA location, delayed by her illness, got a green light from investors impressed by the buzz. Sophia scouted spots in Silver Lake, envisioning a bigger space with a dedicated forum room overlooking the hipster streets. She hired Lena Ortiz, a fiery sous chef from East LA with a background in street food, to lead the team. Lena was tough, with short-cropped hair and a no-nonsense attitude. "We're gonna make this place legendary," Lena said during their first meeting at a coffee shop in downtown LA. But crisis struck just weeks before opening. A scathing review in the LA Times previewed the concept based on leaked menu details. Reyes' texture gimmick falls flat without real flavor depth. The critic Harold Benson, an old-school purist in his 60s with a column that could make or break spots, claimed it was soulless, a crutch for a broken chef. Reservations tanked 60%. Investors called wavering. Sophia flew down the next day, heart pounding during the turbulent flight, doubting everything. In the empty Silver Lake kitchen, still smelling of fresh paint, Sophia gathered the new team around a makeshift table. "They say it's soulless? Prove them wrong," she said, her voice echoing in the space. "This isn't about me. It's about us, about LA's flavors." They hosted an impromptu pop-up forum that night, inviting locals via social media. Hollywood assistants, street food vendors from Olvera Street, immigrants from Koreatown and Little Tokyo. Ideas poured in like a torrent. Crispy taro chips from a Filipino grandma for a new salad, silky horchata foam from a Chicano barista to top desserts, chewy nopales from a Oaxacan family for tacos. The opening night menu shone with community input. Community Crunch Bowl, with layers of textures voted on by the crowd: crispy wonton strips, velvety tofu, popping edamame. Benson showed up, uninvited, his notepad in hand. Sophia served him personally, her hand steady as she placed the bowl before him. He chewed slowly, brow furrowed, saying nothing. The review the next day? Front page. Reyes redefines dining. Texture isn't a crutch. It's a canvas painted by the people. For stars. Momentum built like a wave. La Mesa franchises popped up in Chicago's Wicker Park, where Sophia partnered with local breweries for beer-infused textures like foamy reductions and crunchy malt crisps, and Austin's South Congress Avenue, blending Tex-Mex barbecue with her signature shifts, smoky brisket with fibrous jackfruit alternatives. Media frenzy followed. CNN featured her in a primetime segment on post-pandemic resilience, interviewing her in the San Francisco kitchen amid steaming pots. Sophia Reyes lost her taste but found her community, the anchor intoned, cutting to clips of packed forums. Oprah's O magazine ran a full profile. The chef who tastes with her heart, with photos of Sophia and Mia laughing over dough. Viral videos of the forum showed laughing crowds, diverse faces united by food, Black, Asian, Latino, white, all sharing stories. Hashtag flavor without taste amassed billions of impressions globally, inspiring copycats from Brooklyn bistros to Seattle food trucks. Yet success brought shadows that Sophia hadn't anticipated. The constant travel strained her marriage. David, patient as ever, started missing her more, their calls turning tense. Mia asked why you're always gone, he'd say softly. Mia's school plays in No Valley went unattended, her soccer games cheered by David alone. One evening in a sterile Chicago hotel room, staring at the glittering skyline from her window, Sophia called home. The city noise muffled. I'm building an empire but losing my family, she admitted, voice breaking. David sighed, but his tone was warm. Come home, sophomore. We've got this together. She did, canceling a New York scouting trip to reevaluate. Scaling back expansions, she focused on quality over quantity, delegating to trusted managers like Miguel and Lena. To give back, she launched an online platform, TextureToolkit.com, a free site sharing recipes, tools, and forums for home cooks with similar losses, veterans with nerve damage from deployments, cancer patients post-chemo, long COVID haulers sharing tips. It became a lifeline with user stories flooding in. Your site helped me cook for my kids again. The pinnacle came at the James Beard Awards in Las Vegas, the Oscars of food. Sophia, in a sleek black gown tailored in LA, stood nominated for Outstanding Chef amid a sea of industry giants. As her name was called, the room, filled with chefs from Miami to Portland, hushed. She walked to the stage, spotlights hot on her skin, and gripped the podium. I lost my taste 2 years ago, she began, voice cracking but strong. It felt like the end, but it was the beginning. I gained something better, your flavors, your stories, your textures. This award isn't mine. It's for every palate that shapes our world, every community that lifts us up. Thunderous applause erupted, a standing ovation that lasted minutes. Backstage, Mia rushed into her arms. Mom, you're a superhero. David whispered, eyes misty. Proud doesn't cover it. I love you. Years later, at 45, Sophia sat in her original La Mesa on Valencia Street, now a historic landmark with plaques from the city. Fine lines etched her face from laughter and stress, but her eyes sparkled with purpose. The restaurant buzzed with diners, forums still running weekly. A young chef, a 25-year-old named Alex Rivera from Detroit, approached her table hesitantly. I lost my smell in a car accident, he said. Your story saved me from quitting. Sophia smiled, pulling out a chair. Then pay it forward. Join the forum tonight. As he nodded gratefully, Sophia reflected on her journey.